Listen closely, because the silence just got dangerous. There's something about you tonight, something they can't quite name, but it crawls under their skin and whispers, "You changed." You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped reacting. You stopped feeding their chaos. And that's when the tables turned, when your silence became the loudest scream in the room. They used to mistake your kindness for weakness, didn't they? They thought your calm meant submission, your patience meant defeat. But now they can't read you. They don't know if you're healing or plotting, forgiving or forgetting, or preparing for the kind of comeback that'll leave their souls trembling. You became unpredictable, and unpredictability, my friend, is the most terrifying kind of power. See, people don't fear the loud ones. They fear the ones who smile in silence, the ones who've seen hell, shook hands with it, and came back wearing peace like a loaded weapon. You became that weapon. And your silence, it's the safety off. They wanted to trigger you. They wanted to watch you break, but instead you gave them nothing. No anger, no reaction, just that unnerving stillness, that dangerous kind of quiet that says, "I've already made peace with my demons, have you?" Because here's the paradox, isn't it? You were once the angel that wanted to save everyone, until you realized not everyone wants to be saved. So you burned your wings, not out of hate, but out of clarity. You stopped begging for peace and became the storm that forces it. Now they whisper about you. They call you cold, detached, dangerous, good. Let them, because the truth is, the ones who call you heartless are the same ones who drained your heart dry. The ones who call you distant are the ones who built the distance, and the ones who fear your silence, they should. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's evolution, it's rebirth. It's the sound of you outgrowing everything that once controlled you. You learned the sacred law of power. Never announce, never explain, never defend. Just move in silence and let your results start the war. You see, when you were loud, they didn't listen. When you were kind, they took advantage. But when you went silent, that's when they started hearing echoes of their own guilt. That's when your absence became their punishment. They can't predict you anymore. And that kills them, because people crave control, and you took it back. You stopped being the victim in their story and became the villain in their nightmares. Not because you changed, but because you stopped pretending. You found peace in chaos, light in your darkness. You understood that both the saint and the psychopath live inside you, and balance, real balance, comes from shaking hands with both. You learned to walk that razor edge between mercy and madness, smiling at both sides of yourself, like an artist admiring his masterpiece. You are the contradiction they can't comprehend. Too calm to be broken, too dangerous to be ignored, too silent to be understood. And now, every time you walk into a room, the air shifts. They feel it, that vibration, that quiet, commanding energy that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove, because it already owns the room. They wonder what you're thinking. They wonder what you'll do next. They wonder if they're safe. And that's the beauty of power. When your silence becomes their paranoia. When your restraint becomes your roar. When your peace becomes their punishment. You don't need validation anymore. You don't need to be seen. You are the shadow they can't unsee. So let them fear your silence. Let them choke on their curiosity. Because the moment they can no longer read you, they can no longer control you. Remember, lions don't roar to prove they're lions. Kings don't argue with peasants. And gods don't explain themselves to mortals. You've reached that point. You've become the storm and the calm, the blade and the wound, the question and the answer. And now, they finally understand. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was warning. It was war disguised as peace. And every breath you take now reminds them who the fuck runs the kingdom. You see, silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of control. And you mastered control. You learned the art of saying nothing and watching everything burn. You realized the loudest explosions are the ones that happen behind your eyes. They don't get it yet. They think silence is retreat. They think quiet means you've given up. But oh, if they only knew. Silence is where monsters regenerate. It's where angels sharpen their halos into blades. It's where the old you dies, and something far more dangerous takes its place. You don't chase anymore, do you? You attract. You don't react anymore. You calculate. You don't speak to be understood. You move to be remembered. And now every motion, every glance, every pause, it's deliberate. You've become poetry wrapped in menace, still water hiding a tidal wave, a slow inhale before the storm. They can't read your tone anymore. They can't measure your energy. You've become a mirror, reflecting their fears back at them. That's why they avoid your eyes, because deep down, they see themselves, and they hate the reflection. You stopped trying to be the light in rooms built on lies. You realized not everyone deserves to see you glow. Some only deserve the darkness you once protected them from. So now, you walk differently. You don't announce your arrival, but the air does. You don't need attention, because energy bends to your silence. You became the ghost in their system, the glitch they can't fix. Every word you don't say echoes louder than every insult they threw. They called you cold. But cold doesn't mean dead. It means untouchable. It means you stopped bleeding for people who never deserved your wounds. You learned that peace isn't soft. It's savage. Because it takes power to stay calm when chaos begs for your reaction. It takes mastery to let your silence destroy what noise never could. So when they whisper about you now, let them. When they try to provoke you, smile. Because nothing is more terrifying than a person who could destroy you but chooses not to. You are that person. The walking paradox, healer and destroyer, saint and demon, fire and frost. Your existence alone offends the weak, because you are everything they failed to become. Discipline, mystery, danger, wrapped in serenity. They tried to bury you under their noise. Now they dig for explanations in your quiet. Your silence made them question their worth. Your peace made them confront their chaos. And your absence, that was the loudest revenge of all. So keep it that way. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't warn. Let your silence keep screaming in their minds, tearing through their egos like glass through skin. Let them stay haunted by the calm that replaced your kindness. Because one day, they'll finally understand the truth. Your silence was never empty. It was full of power, precision, and prophecy. You didn't disappear. You ascended. And from where you stand now, the noise below doesn't even reach you. So let them fear your silence. Let them tremble at the thought of your return. Because silence isn't surrender. It's evolution. It's rebirth. It's dominance in its purest form. And when you finally speak again, the world will remember why it should have never underestimated the quiet one. Because silence is the final stage of power. The moment you realize words can't defend what presence already declares. The moment you stop performing for a world that never deserved front row seats to your pain. You used to shout just to be heard. Now the whole room holds its breath when you move. You used to explain yourself to people who pretended to care. Now they study your stillness like a threat they can't decode. That's the transformation they never saw coming. You went from being reactive to being unreachable, from trying to prove a point to being the point. You no longer chase validation, you embody it. You no longer seek revenge, you become it. And your silence? It's the crown they'll never touch, because what they call quiet is actually the sound of your ascension. What they call cold is simply the temperature of self-respect. What they call changed is you, finally seeing yourself without distortion. You are the calm after destruction, the rebirth after ruin. You are what happens when a good soul stops begging to be understood and starts commanding reality instead. You don't scream anymore because silence screams for you. You don't fight anymore because peace fights for you. You don't fear anymore because fear itself kneels when you enter the room. Let them gossip, let them wonder, let them choke on their curiosity, because the truth is, you never lost anything. You shed what couldn't survive your growth. You never went silent. You started speaking in a frequency only the evolved can hear. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real reason they fear you now. Because deep down, they know your silence isn't weakness, it's prophecy, it's power refined by pain. It's the sound of someone who's no longer for sale. You outgrew the noise. You outgrew their games. You outgrew their version of you. And now, you've become something terrifyingly beautiful. A storm disguised as serenity. A soul too still to be provoked. A presence too powerful to ignore. So stand tall in your quiet. Wear it like armor. Let your silence echo through every room, every memory, every regret they have left. Because they don't fear your rage anymore. They fear your peace. They fear that you don't need to fight for power. Because you are the power. And from this moment on, every second you stay silent will speak louder than anything they could ever say. Now they fear your silence, and rightfully so. Because your silence has finally become their judgment day.